So something I forgot to mention last time is that Stapleton, well, I might have mentioned it and forgot I did, but um, Holmes looked at a portrait of Hugo Baskerville in Baskerville Hall, and from it he determined that Stapleton, because he resembled Hugo in appearance, was a Baskerville. And so his motivation for killing Sir Charles and Sir Henry was so that he could inherit the estate. Anyway, this game doesn't, the cases in this game are extremely vaguely related to the ones described in the adventures of Sherlock Holmes. Essentially implying that Iris took extreme creative liberty, and only took vague inspiration from the notes she found in the chest. Most of this was all stuff that she wrote, what she wrote was very original in nature. So be impressed by Iris. Going back to the game, I saved the game here intentionally because I was going to save the game here anyway. Because this is such a difficult puzzle to deal with. They did something similar at the end of the first of these two games, where you have to decide if you want to present on Grayson or Gregson, and which evidence you want to present. Yeah, same thing here. Do you present on Strongheart or Van Zeek, and then if so, which piece of evidence do you present? You could argue that it's a little bit easier than like an ordinary cross-examination, because you don't have multiple statements, you only have two people. So it's the grid's less big. Anyway, I'm going to look through the court record first to try to categorize this stuff. So the armband is not something that's related to the Professor case of 10 years ago, so we're going to ignore it. Same thing with the Red-Headed League. This was just something that was created, this is very recent. Picture of Mr. Vigil, that technically is related, but it's very unlikely to be the evidence we're going to present, because there's nothing really exciting in there. You can see in the background what appears to be like maybe a hall, maybe a very tall house. But if you put the magnifier over it, you can't even make out the details. And like a wrought iron gate and a hedge, which is very Baskerville Hall-like in resemblance, but that's probably just a reference and not actually anything plot related. Anyway, that's something that's related to the case 10 years ago, though. This is only relevant in that it shows Mikotopa's handwriting, but we've already established that Mikotopa wrote the report and no one's questioning it, so I would say it's not related. And same thing with, and I was actually going to go back and be a little bit more rigorous, but go a little bit further here. Photograph of Mr. Vigil, I'm going to say just isn't the piece of evidence we present, just because there's nothing else really in there of importance. So I'm going to put a letter of introduction and cross it out. That's just how my handwritten notes are being done. And write it down and then cross it out. The dismissal notice is related to 10 years ago. Again, also very unlikely to be the thing that we present, because what Van Zeek said is, I thought it was my brother a little bit because he was acting a little bit strange during the time of the Professor killings. He was acting a little bit off. But the third person that he killed was the Lord Chief Justice. And the Lord Chief Justice was his mentor and his person who put him in the position that he was in. Why would he kill the Lord Chief Justice? And then Stronghart is saying, we don't have any evidence left that we can use to revisit the case of who the Professor was. The only two pieces of evidence left are the only piece of evidence we have left is the ring. So anything that could be evidence matters, but this is not evidence really from that case. Photograph of Mrs. Vigil from her younger years. Yes, it is a younger version of Mrs. Vigil, but this was used pretty much exclusively to identify whose hideout that rented out place was, and so there isn't any clues here about the Chief Justice or the Professor case or anything like that. So This one, because it's a younger version of Vigil, it does have to do with 10 years ago, very vaguely, but it's not it. This is the revolver. The revolver, we now know, is Seishiro's gun. But being Seishiro's gun doesn't give us anything more to investigate about it. We could say that maybe Seishiro was the person, like, somebody shot the professor. We still haven't figured out who that was when the professor came out of the grave. That person you could argue was Seishiro. Somehow this gun could be related to that. But it's a real stretch. Like, I imagine that would be the thing that you presented. Okay, this is related to 10 years ago again because it was a gift to Gregson from the yard right after the professor incident. But I'm not going to write it down because it's... no. This is not related to 10 years ago, so we don't have to worry about it. This is also not related to 10 years ago, so we don't have to worry about it. This we know, I already tried presenting this on Lord Strongheart and it didn't work. So, if this is, something we only have left to present it on Van Zeek. It is related to 10 years ago because it was taken, well, more than 10 years ago, actually. Gregson does not age, apparently. Gregson's autopsy report? Not related to 10 years ago. This is Gregson's autopsy report. This is the current one, not 10 years ago. This is stuff about the Reaper of the Bailey. Let me examine this again, though. So it does mention that there was a paper from 10 years ago on this, but there wasn't any mention about what was on it. What that paper was, so... I presume it doesn't matter, right? I'll put the notice board down, but again, it's a low probability that it's the piece of evidence we present. Firecracker serves the recent thing, so we don't need that. Again, this is recent. This is the recent case, so it's not relevant. This is the recent case, so not relevant. Spectre's identification, again, that's from the recent one. It's a recent photograph. And it's already been used, which suggests it's less likely that we should present it again. However, in the first game, we present to Gregson the music player, which he already presented, so we can still reuse something in this. The Isogi papers, a big candidate. This did come from 10 years ago, so the Isogi papers. And I'll read the last page again. It is in deep sadness I accept my fate in this foreign land, in the knowledge that I will never see my homeland or family again. Huh. But I regret nothing about my chosen path. Now that is weird. Huh. I'll note that down. In my head. Okay, this is not from 10 years ago, so I don't care. Clint. Okay. Clint's autopsy report. This is not something we care about. This is recent. Thing is, that matters though. I doubt this is the thing we present though. Then we have the evacuation drill, which is recent, this is recent, this is recent, and we have the ring. So that means the 10 things for the, not 10, I don't know how, I haven't really counted them. 5. The 11 things to choose from, yeesh, are photograph of Mr. Vigil, letter of introduction, dismissal notice, revolver, Breakson's photograph, notice board, the Asogi papers, Clint's autopsy, the great sword Karuma, and the ring. Now, certain things are extremely unlikely. So, for example, revolver is also extremely unlikely to be the thing, right? So, I'm going to cross that off. Notice board is also extremely unlikely to be the thing. The great sword is also extremely unlikely to be the thing. The ring is unlikely because Strongheart already acknowledged that the ring was a thing, right? So, kind of leaves behind Breakson's photograph, the Asogi papers, and Clint's autopsy report. As those are like the big 3 that you would present. Now, unfortunately for me, the backlog has a ending on it, so I might not be able to get all the way back to their statements. Correct. It's like there's a wall here, intentionally. Doesn't let you backlog back to their statements that they said. That makes this extremely nasty. So we're gonna contradict, like, why why would Clint kill the Lord Chief Justice at the time? That justice was not, we don't know if he was evil or not because he wasn't Lord Strongheart. We're gonna contradict all of the evidence. Let's try Okay, my best guess is Strongheart is what we contradict. That is just my best guess. Okay. Neither Clint Van Zeeks nor Genshin Asogi still walk this earth. However much we debate this matter now, we cannot hope to reach a conclusion. Now, we could argue that Clint's still alive, but he's not, right? The woebegone ring that acted as the incriminating evidence to condemn Genshin Asogi. Two extant pieces of evidence from the time. And a 3-page last will and testament pinned in black ink and left behind by the man. Oh, so he is acknowledging it. Okay, so he acknowledges the ring and he acknowledges the Asogi papers. I'm gonna bail out. Okay. Let's try Van Zeeks. Clint wasn't the culprit. That was my conclusion at the time. The third victim was the Lord Chief Justice at the time. It was he who had recognized my brother's potential and trained him as a prosecutor. Wasn't Gregson? No matter what the circumstances, it's unthinkable that my brother could have killed his friend and mentor. Okay, that's less reassuring. It seems a little bit more off. So...
Take that!
That sounds wrong. Okay. So we know for absolute certainty that it's not Gregson's photograph. So I'm going to double cross that out. Let's go all the way through. I don't know why I'm loading, I have 1 life left. I can kind of go through this without losing it. Well, it began with Lord Van Zeek's recollection about his brother, but Lord Strongheart didn't permit the defendant to speak at length. I merely pointed out that we can draw out no further useful conclusions here. So where on earth is the contradiction? One of them definitely just said something contradictory. It's time to identify who. Might be in a brute forcing the last present, which should be very, very, very disappointing. It was the last ditch. I don't see how this could work, but whatever. The 3-paged. Oh, it's 3-paged. Hooey. Well, now I know what to present. That is a little bit tricky, game. I'll complain at you. That is pretty tricky. That is pretty... Gonna trick a lot of people. Well, I'm absolutely certain I can't get this wrong now.
Take that!
Yeah. This here is the will left behind by Mr. Asogi. The 2-paged will. What? Yet moments ago, your precise words were... the 3-page last will and testament. Ah. Could it be that originally... there was a 3rd page? For a moment, I thought perhaps you'd identified something worthwhile. But it's a mere trifle, I see. A trifle? Governor Caden. What can I do for you, sir? You were present when the Japanese man pinned his last will and testament. I was there for sure. I remember the black worm-like scowls to this day. And I'm quite certain, my lord, that there was a 3rd page at the time. What? Only the first 2 pages were the actual will, though. If I mind correctly, the 3rd was a message to this lad back in Japan. For legal purposes, we required only his will. And we wouldn't have wanted any uncomfortable words about Britain to get back to Japan, eh? So it was decided that the 3rd page ought maybe to be sent.
Objection!
How dare you make that decision? I had a right to know what he said, to hear my father's final words to me. The courtroom is no place for sentimentality, counsel. As it happens, I have the 3rd page of the document with me here now. My father's message? It will be given to you at the end of these proceedings. It'll be too late once the trial is over. We need to know what it says now. Even the slightest thing may give us a vital clue. My lord, the defense calls for Genshin Asogi's last words to his son be read out loud before the court now. Your request is denied. The inevitable maudlin words can be of no consequence now.
Objection!
The prosecution agrees. The court should know the content of that message. Every possible piece of evidence must be thoroughly examined. Very well then. Governor Caden, you'll read the 3rd page of the document for all present to hear. Yes, sir. Only I should point out, my lord, that it's in Japanese and I don't know how to read Japanese. That I cannot actually read worm language. It's beautiful handwriting. Shame on you, Barry. If I could be of assistance here, I would be happy to translate the words into English for the court. And translate them intentionally wrong. That would be funny if we get to the end of this and he says, no, that's not actually what Mr. Asogi said. I fudged it a little bit to make it say what I wanted it to say to accomplish my agenda. Unfaithful translators are a real problem. Father? You're still here, are you, Mr. Mikotoba? Dr. Mikotoba? Naturally, I consider myself a member of the judiciary, albeit a lowly one. But perhaps I should quietly withdraw after I've translated Genshin's message. Your cooperation is much appreciated. Kazuma. The truth is shrouded in darkness, a darkness only our clan's great sword can pierce. Mighty Karuma, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes. That's the end of the message, it would seem. So we're gonna twist the handle of the sword. Will let me do it yet? If they could read it, they wouldn't think anything of an issue. Not yet. Okay. A haiku poem. Twist thy head. Father? What is Karuma? The name of the Asogi clan's famous sword. A razor-sharp blade known to all, passed down for generations. It embodies the Japanese spirit. It's not known to me. It's the katana sword that was submitted as evidence earlier in these proceedings. The one worn by the prosecution counsel when he confronted Inspector Gregson. These procrastinations are beginning to try my patience. Adjournment of this court is long overdue. As the presiding judge, I have been accommodating as possible to the will of the courtroom. However, despite all of that, no new information has come to light. In pursuit of justice, Lord Clint Van Zeeks tragically lost all sense of morality. When he murdered his former mentor, clearly he was already devoid of his normal faculties.
Objection!
How dare you! I refuse to believe that of my brother. Too much time has passed. We cannot ever hope to know more than we do now. Especially since the alleged will that he penned in his final moments appears to have been lost forever. Arg. Lord Strongheart. You appear to be in something of a hurry to wrap things up. I wonder why. It's like, Miko Toba just states what we're all thinking directly, just as Mr. Holmes tends to do. You've heard you state time and time again during these proceedings that everything you did was in the interests of protecting British law and order. And I stand by that. Without the Reaper, we could never have achieved the reduction in crime the capital has seen. What about Inspector Gregson, then? And Dr. Wilson? They were no criminals. You used them to achieve your ends, and then you had them killed. However you dressed it up, there was nothing fair or just about that. Lord Strongheart, what exactly is it that you're hiding? Dr. Miko Toba, were you not to quietly withdraw after the translation of your former associate's will? In this courtroom, no argument carries weight unless it is supported by evidence. And it would seem that the defense has no more evidence to present. What about the prosecution? Let's see if I can... There we go. Mighty Karuma, twist thy head and watch them fall, all thy mortal foes. That's the proper way to use the sword, is it? Maybe I should try it. It hurts my neck, that's the trouble. Mr. Naruhodo, if I might make a suggestion. I think perhaps it doesn't mean your head. Oh. I once studied the history and development of the katana some time ago, and as I'm sure you're probably aware, the sword's head is the part at the very end of the hilt. It's written as head in Japan, but it's pronounced as kashira, I believe. Yeah, I was kind of confused when Naruhodo said it hurts my neck, because I didn't believe he actually tried to twist his own head. Kashira. So Mr. Asogi's sword really means twist the butt of the hilt. Asogi's words. You don't think... Ah, look what's inside it. Is that a tightly wound sheet of parchment? Haha! Scarlet ink, it's written in scarlet ink. I penned this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. This is it, isn't it? Mr. Naruhodo, look at the signature at the end. Clint Van Zieks. And the date, 10 years ago, on that fateful night. For 10 years, it's been silently concealed inside Karuma and nobody knew. The last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks. Wait, oh my goodness. Look at this. This is unbelievable. Let's read it. Oh, we can't read it. What? In which case... Objection! I hereby order all discourse in these proceedings to be struck from the record. This is my last chance. Mr. Naruhodo, I have to present some decisive evidence now, or it's all over. But can I? Yes, I will. Wait, my lord. As it happens, the defense does have evidence to present. What? Don't be absurd. There's nothing of relevance remaining from the time.
Objection!
It's high time that you realize something, my lord. This gentleman has an uncanny habit of producing evidence at the final hour that had escaped everyone else's attention. Nonsense. What is it, Ryosuke? What do you have? I dare say. The final, decisive piece of evidence that will reveal the whole truth about this rotten tale. How? How can you? Decisive? Well, it would appear there's no escaping it now, my lord. Let it be so, then. Present whatever you think you have that can settle this decade-old enigma, if you're capable. What exactly is this evidence that the defense claims to be so decisive?
Take that!
There is a single piece of evidence that can clarify what really happened 10 years ago. The last will and testament of Lord Clint Van Zieks. Ah, a wonderfully astute observation, I'm sure. But in case it had escaped your notice, that document was lost long ago. That's right, it was. Only... I have it right here. Discovered just moments ago. Impossible! That can't be. Everything that's happened comes back to this will. This document is the key that will unlock the entire mystery. My brother's last will and testament. Where did you find that? It was rolled up inside this. Inside Karuma. That ultimate weapon Genshin Isogi obtained has lain undisturbed in the hilt of this sword all these years. Just waiting for the right time to emerge and reveal the truth. The signature and seal certainly look official. My God, it's true. It's my brother's handwriting. There can be no mistake. I forbid the contents of that document to be read out. Do you hear me? I strictly forbid it.
Objection!
I'll just read it anyway! You can't do that, my lord. This document could explain everything. That document could literally destroy the meaning of the justice in this country. I demand that you hand it to me at once. Why? What are you trying to hide? Could it be that you already know what's written on this page? What are you implying? Court is adjourned with immediate effect. Clear the courtroom.
Objection!
Do that, my lord, and you'll suffer a fatal blow as Lord Chief Justice. I beg your pardon? Forcibly ending a trial without good reason, and not any trial, a closed trial by order of Her Majesty the Queen. To defy the monarch's will is treason. Why isn't the Queen, like, here? Oh well, my lord. It would rather appear as though proceedings aren't going to go quite as you'd hoped. You fools. Go ahead, Ryanosuke, read it. The prosecution gives its full support. No, for God's sake. Big no. I pinned this, my last will and testament, in the final moments before my inevitable and willing death. The hour is 11 p.m., and I sit at my writing desk in my office. My good friend Asogi stands at my shoulder. He has expressed his intent to invoke the dying ritual of the duel, that I may depart this world with honor. An honor of which I am utterly undeserving. The Japanese are a truly merciful people. I, Clint Van Zieks, Lord of the Manor of the Van Zieks Estate, hereby confess to the following. I am the killer who has come to be known in society as the Professor, guilty of 4 counts of murder. I will not here discourse the corruption rife among the aristocracy, which is to me, as one of them, so apparent. However, 6 months ago, I took the life of a member of the House of Lords, at the heart of the depravity. A demon who habitually sacrificed the common man to further his own interests, abusing his position of power. The law is impotent against such vile avarice, or impotent, that is. Only a fellow demon can rid society of this menace. That demon was my quarry, upon whom I willingly set my great hound. But though I am a hunter of some experience, I am a poor felon, it seems. My guilt was at once recognized by another, and I became subject to his extortion. He held over me the threat of exposing my wicked crime to my beloved wife and brother. Under that threat, I have done this man's bidding for months now, killing those he demanded I kill. As I watched my former mentor perish before my eyes at the jaws of the hound I commanded, I realized that I had lost the last thread of decency within me, and sunk to the level of a wild beast. There is no path back to the light, be it I or my dear friend Asogi who dies this night. I am eternally damned. To my extortioner, male strong heart. May you feel the jaws of the beast at your throat every time you swallow. So now we know, yes, Clint Van Zieks was a murderer. But somebody was directing him and naming his victims. His extortioner, Lord Male Strongheart. It was you. Lord Strongheart, a moment ago, you claimed that what the court has just heard could destroy justice in this country. But you weren't trying to protect justice at all. All you were trying to do was conceal the secret of your true nature, and the countless lives you sacrificed up till now. It just didn't make sense to me. That the third victim, the former Lord Chief Justice, was my brother's benefactor, and a man of lofty principles. As I said, Clint had no possible reason to kill the man. But you did, didn't you, Lord Strongheart? To eliminate the man who stood between you and the office you'd set your sights on. So you used your own hunting dog, Lord Clint Van Zieks, to take him down. It had to be done. London's unsavory shadows are deep, and the arm of the law fails to reach their depths. Crime must be cut off at the roots. The Lord Chief Justice at the time couldn't see that. He was weak. Lofty principles, you say. Tend to amount to cowardice, if you ask me. Which is why I took his place. In order to fight the crime he was allowed to spread like wildfire. By murdering the man. The Reaper, the Professor, the man, the name makes no difference. As I've explained countless times already, it was all done for the furtherance of law and order in London.
Objection.
Are you going to legitimize the murder of my father now, too? Ah, Genshin Asogi. Well, that was unfortunate. I had fully intended to send him back to Japan, as we'd agreed. I don't believe you. It was you, wasn't it? You killed him. No, it wasn't me who took your father's life. Then who? On the night following his mock execution, I went to Logate Cemetery at 3 in the morning with Jigoku. Oh, so it was Jigoku! Oh! So, I mean, what kind of, like, mentioning that gun, that was legit. There had to be a collaborator on the Japanese side to manage Asogi's treatment after his repatriation. Jigoku had fierce ambition, it made him easy to manipulate. 10 years ago, after he'd stood trial for the destruction of the witness stand, I had words with him. When I told him the position of Minister of Foreign Affairs would be his, he couldn't agree fast enough. Seishiro, you fool. As you know, Asogi escaped the prison in a closed casket and was subsequently interred. And we intended to dig him out of his grave before he ran out of air. But sadly, all did not go to plan. There was an unexpected visitor in the cemetery with his own ideas about digging up graves. The man who witnessed that nobody was supposed to see. Enoch Drebber. Of course, I knew grave robbers frequented London cemeteries. But that grave on that particular night... Blast, if people find out the convict wasn't really executed, the scandal will rock the very foundations of the Empire. Then what do? Shoot him, Mr. Jigoku. Shoot Asogi at once. He can't live now that this has happened. He has to go. What are you talking about? You had an agreement. You promised him he could return to Japan. Everything has changed now. The truth gets out because of this. Both of us will be finished. Forever. Come on, Jigoku, do it. Pull the trigger. Shoot! Jigoku shot Asogi from the shadows. The grave robber was so close. The blood sprayed over his coat. He fled as fast as his legs would carry him. Then Jigoku and I put Asogi's body back in the grave from which he'd just emerged. When I later learnt of the waxwork modeler's presence at the scene as well, I made her swear to two things: never to remove the professor's mask, and never to speak of the events of that night. And with that, the secret was buried along with Asogi's corpse. So, now you know what really happened in Logate Cemetery that night. It was Jigoku, your Japanese acquaintance, who killed Asogi in the end, you see? He claimed to be the man's friend. And when push came to shove, he pulled the trigger. Just before Mr. Jigoku left the courtroom earlier, he said that the assassin exchange proposal was a demand from his British counterpart, not a request. So you coerced him too, using what happened in the graveyard. By that time, Jigoku was the Minister of Foreign Affairs negotiating international treaties with Britain. You can imagine what would have happened if it came to light he'd murdered a compatriot 10 years ago. He would have lost everything. I merely reminded him of that. How do you sleep at night? These past 10 years, I've fought tirelessly with the darker recesses of London's criminal underworld, and I've used whatever means necessary to ensure that justice prevails and law and order reign supreme.
Objection.
That couldn't be further from the truth. The fact is, you haven't fought crime at all. How dare you? I saved Clint Van Zieks from dishonor in his death. That's not a crime.
Objection.
Whilst behind the scenes, you systematically buried anyone who stood in your way. And then you made my father take the blame. It was unavoidable. It was the only way to protect our justice system and public order. Let's not forget the others who you have killed as well. Setting the defendant up as the Reaper to cover up the truth behind the murders of countless more. That's enough! Do you have any idea of the conniving that led to the acquittals of those wretched criminals? We had to fight fire with fire. Our courts can't function without a Reaper. Can't you see all I've done for this country? This has been my struggle! Well, that's a reference.
Objection.
If any of you don't understand, Mein Kampf is German for my struggle. You've done nothing. It's Lord Van Zieks here who worked tirelessly and justly in court while enduring the disgrace of the Reaper name. And Inspector Gregson fought with anguish for having sullied his hands through a desire to do the right thing. Not to mention Genshin Asogi, who risked his life going in pursuit of the truth you tried to hide. No, the darker recesses of London's underworld were largely filled by you. You little... When will you get it through your thick skulls? That it was all for the Queen and country? I'm tired of that excuse. I'm gonna go take care of something very brief here. Okay, done and continuing. You've consistently twisted the truth for bargaining power to make others do your bidding, nothing more. People who willingly twist the truth and coerce others have no right to call themselves part of the judiciary. I strongly suggest you don't ever talk of justice again. Well, well, dear me, my good fellows, dear me. Well-deserved round of applause, I think, for a quite marvelous performance. What are you talking about? Those delightfully grave expressions, that beautifully pronounced Queen's English. Really, our friends from the Far East are quite the picture of industriousness. You fraud, keep your mockery. Please just don't misunderstand. It really is exactly as you both said. What are you trying to say? I have occupied the darker recesses of London's underworld. And how did you put it? Done nothing? I confess it's a little embarrassing to have it pointed out quite so starkly, but yes. I really have done nothing. Which means... I can be indicted for nothing. No? What? true. Personally, I have committed no crime. I've merely been surrounded by fools who've acted very rashly indeed.
Objection!
You can't get away with that. You've consistently preyed on people's weaknesses. And what? Threatened them? Are you sure it wasn't just bargaining? I would like to address all the good lords, ladies, and gentlemen of the judiciary here present. You all know these darker recesses in our great capital, and deep down I believe you also know that to fight those who dwell there requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves. So let me appeal to your good sense now. Consider the situation with me. If this catalog of horrifying revelations were to become common knowledge among the 6 million inhabitants of London, what might happen? Learn that the infamous murder of royals and nobles was a respected member of the aristocracy himself. That evidence was fabricated in the scapegoat's trial amid secret negotiations with prosecutors to effect a jailbreak. That the Reaper of the Bailey was an organized group of assassins managed by a Scotland Yard inspector. And finally, that it was an all-mastermind of the Lord Chief Justice himself. If the general public of Britain knew the truth, all faith in the police and the prosecutor's office would be completely lost, without doubt. Public order in the capital would completely break down. We'd be cast back to the lawless days of the last century. Precisely, as it was 100 years ago, when 1 in 10 of the population were criminals. Think what we've accomplished since then. A public policing force, a comprehensive set of laws. And if we want to continue to protect this new era of law and order, I say again, we must at times occupy the darkness ourselves. Or you can just not and then don't have to worry about having to reveal it. We have successfully identified and apprehended the man responsible for taking Inspector Gregson's life. That is all that was expected of this trial. All these other matters have been discussed. Will be eliminated from the minutes of these proceedings in the interest of preserving law and order. And to protect Her Majesty the Queen, of course. Well, my lords, ladies and gentlemen, what do you say? What say you? He has a point. The things Lord Strongheart has done are quite unforgivable. But on the other hand, it is our duty to maintain law and order in the capital. You can't deny that the threat of the Reaper over the years has done wonders for the crime rate. And by fair means or foul, that's all to Lord. Is this when Sholmes shows up? Are you hearing this? This is the will of the British judiciary? For your rousing response, friends, I express my heartfelt gratitude. Therefore, in accordance with the overwhelming wishes of the court, the record shall be erased. You have to respect the man's ability to turn a situation to his favor. Lord Strongheart really is a master of manipulation. You've conclusively proven his guilt, yet still he manages to evade justice. I just don't know what we can do. Rinosuke, it looks like the trial really is going to come to an end now. I'm almost out of options, I think. Pull the ears now! There really is only one path left open to me. Oh dear. Okay, use evidence. Yes, I know only too well. The only thing that carries any weight in court is hard evidence. But Mr. Naruhodo, what evidence is there to use at this stage in the trial? I have an idea. I don't know whether anything will come of it, but if there is ever a time of using this particular item we have among the evidence, it's now!
Take that!
Oh my, yes, Mr. Schultz asked if you had that with you earlier. We've exposed all of Lord Strongheart's wrongdoing now. I've no doubt that Mr. Schultz had already deduced exactly how the truth would unfurl. So I think it must be time for the great detective to take center stage, don't you? Yes, absolutely. Let's take the hair by the ears then, and heave. Alright, here goes. Heave. Ow, 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 ow. My dear fellows, must I remind you every time, a gentle tug will suffice. Mr. Sholmes. You're looking in quite the wrong direction, Mr. Naruhodo. Because I am over here. Ah, Mr. Naruhodo, he's... A projection! It's Mr. Sholmes. Or is it like a force projection? I wasn't expecting you back, Sholmes. Delighted to be here again, Lord Strongheart. What is the meaning of this? Bailiff, seize him. Put that man in irons. This is a closed court. You've been warned once already, man. That was funny. We can't get a hold of him, my lord. We just go right through him. I'm afraid your efforts are wasted. You see, the great detective you see before you is composed entirely of light and shadow, an image, if you will. Mr. Naruhodo, I must congratulate you on your fine deductions. Mr. Sholmes, what on earth is... Are you familiar, I wonder, with the invention known as the telephone? Well, yes, I heard that some public telephones have been installed recently in Tokyo. The sound of the speaker's voice is converted to an electrical signal and transmitted instantly to another place. Quite. Sounds are transmitted, so could not images keep them company, I mused. Iris and I did some modest experimentation and developed such a device specifically for this very day. A modest experimentation, Mr. Sholmes. What a modest description. And somewhat incidentally, I thought we might just as well transmit an entire scene. Somewhat incidentally, Mr. Sholmes? Now you're just being immodest. Do you mean to say you're not actually here, Sholmes? Ah, I knew you, trusty partner, would have no trouble grasping the concept. Except he's grasping the stead to steady himself after your shock arrival. Poor father. I would have hoped he might have been forewarned, being the great detective's great partner. Leave my courtroom at once. Get out, or I swear to you. Dear me, you on the other hand, Lord Strongheart, appear to be a very poor grasp of the situation. Allow me to reiterate, I am not here. Which would, I hope, lead naturally to one asking, where exactly are you? A very question I was awaiting. I am at present enjoying the air in a rather splendid garden. A garden? Not just any garden, you understand. A garden at Buckingham Palace. What, you can't be. Buckingham Palace? This entire courtroom scene has been televisioned to the Queen herself. That's exactly... It's like, yeah, why isn't the Queen here? She is here in a way. What's Buckingham? Something weird happened with my keyboard. It went ba-bonk. Wait, stop it. Okay. Well, you can't be. Buckingham Palace. What's Buckingham Palace, Mr. Sato? I've never heard of it. Do you ever read the news, Mr. Naruhodo? Mr. Sholmes. I forgot to read that line, too. Is Iris with you there? Oh, well, now Iris is currently enjoying some tea. With Her Majesty. Her Majesty. Not just any Her Majesty, you understand. Her Majesty, the Queen of the British Empire. What? What? What on earth is all this about? Buckingham Palace is Her Majesty the Queen's residence in London, Mr. Naruhodo. Order in the court. I demand immediate silence. Her Majesty the Queen. It can't be you mean, I mean no. This is some sort of unforgivable, distasteful trickery by a third-rate detective, that's all. Unforgivable, distasteful trickery. What an apt description. A closed court session attended by elite members of the judiciary is a rare event. I presume that Her Majesty would be more than a little curious about the proceedings. So I decided to show her everything, from start to finish. This could be a bluff. It's like a giant bluff. Huh? You showed her? Indeed. By dint of the Hairlock Sholmes remote cinematograph. You meddling... This is some kind of nightmare. Just as I appear to be standing before you, regaling you with talk of my latest invention. No doubt you've inferred that the reverse is also true. You don't mean... Her Majesty has seen and heard every moment of the proceedings. I assume there would be no objection. After all, every trial in this country is conducted under the auspices of Her Majesty, as you know. I confess I am quite impatient to hear Her Majesty's opinion about the unforgivable, distasteful trickery in which you've been engaged over the past 10 years. I know, I was really... Oh, so sorry to keep you all waiting. Vicky and I had so much... Sorry. Vicky and I had so much to talk about. Iris, there you are. In fact, I have a little message here from Her Majesty. A message? Does she not get sprites? Well then, if everyone is sitting comfortably, ahem. Forthwith and with immediate effect, all authority previously afforded to Male Strongheart is hereby revoked forevermore. Furthermore, he will be prosecuted for crimes against his countrymen in a public trial by jury in the coming days. So, it seems that Her Majesty doesn't believe we need to fight fire with fire. Justice in this country needed to be administered from the shadows at all. Male Strongheart. The darkness you fostered to conceal your despicable actions these last 10 years is a thing of the past now. After today, your brand of law and order has no future, because no longer are you the Lord Chief Justice. In the eyes of the law and Her Majesty the Queen, you are nothing but a criminal. Court is adjourned. Behold, I am coming quickly. It went that far. Everybody evacuates. Lord Clint Van Zeeks left a will in which he confessed to everything. When those words came out of Asogi's mouth, it deranged me completely. I knew I must do anything and everything in my power to contain the situation. But I couldn't find the damned document. I searched his cell, but it wasn't there. Which precipitated the jailbreak plot, I presume. What do you mean? The need to obtain that will was all-consuming. I was sure that if I facilitated Asogi's escape, he would emerge with the will somewhere on his person. But despite searching his limp body in the cemetery that night, it still eluded me. It never even crossed my mind that it was concealed in the sword's hilt. Pains me now is that my brother left this world without a word to me. I'm sorry, Lord Van Zieks. In point of fact, I think perhaps that isn't the case. Sorry? How can that be? There is more to his last will and testament. What? As I confront the prospect of my demise, I feel bitter regret for my younger brother. Barak, you have always looked up to me, and now you follow in my footsteps to become a prosecutor. It is my fervent wish that my unspeakable deeds should not hinder your advancement. I ask not for understanding, for none could understand my depravity. I ask only for forgiveness. Sogi is a fine detective and a hunter worthy of respect. He has agreed to honor my final 2 wishes. The first is that this document survives. The second, I cannot commit to paper. I have confessed my sins to my wife. May she find resolution in my death. With my earnest gratitude to my Japanese friend, I rest my quill. Clint Van Zieks. Clint. Vale Strongheart, you colluded with Seishiro Jigoku in a criminal plot so immense it spanned the oceans, and you cold-heartedly murdered all those who knew the truth about what happened 10 years ago. But why did you set about that now, a whole decade later? To ascend to the very peak. These last 10 years made me realize, being the Lord Chief Justice wasn't enough. Short of becoming Her Majesty's Attorney General, I could have no real power to effect the changes needed in this country. And for that promotion, I needed to ensure no remnants of the past remained. How could you? I like everything to run smoothly in the exact manner that I prescribe, like a well-oiled machine. And I was just a step away. If it weren't for you meddling kids and your dog. A different sense. And for your ambition to succeed. I mean, the reason why I thought of that is because the Hound of the Baskervilles is a very Scooby-Doo-like plot. And for your ambition to succeed, did you even bother to count the number of brilliant people you had killed? Mr. Reaper, are you not forgetting something? Such as, you very much adopted your usual prosecutor-like demeanor in the proceedings now. But the reality of the situation is that you are the defendant in this trial. However, the presiding judge would appear to have fallen from the bench, as it were. May I suggest, therefore, that we entrust the final adjudication to an old friend? My lord. As a member of the judiciary, I have been following the proceedings from the gallery. And I must say, I shan't ever forget the extraordinary battle between good and evil that I witnessed here today. Just so casual. The darkness that has blighted justice in our land these past 10 years has at last been dispelled. thanks in no small part to the efforts of a bright young star from the East. Defense Counsel Naruhodo. Yes, my lord. On behalf of everyone here present in the Old Bailey, I give you my heartfelt thanks. You are too kind, my lord. The first time I faced you in court, just under a year ago now, I had the faintest of intimations. That if British justice were wrapped and twisted over its long history was finally to no change. This might just be the man to do it. What? But at the time, I wouldn't allow myself to acknowledge the possibility. I mean, the first thing he did was get off some horrible, heinous criminal. I couldn't overcome my hatred of the Japanese after the circumstances of my brother's death. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me to apologize for countless discourtesies on my part. You are a lawyer of boundless talent. Oh, Lord Van Zieks. When I first arrived in Great Britain, I was literally a nobody, certainly not a lawyer. The truth is, my fortunes have entirely been made by the miraculous people I've met. My best friend, Kazuma Asogi, who led me here to Britain in the first place. My loyal and ever-patient judicial assistant, Miss Susato, who helped me study to become a lawyer. The brilliant Lord Van Zieks, who never failed to challenge his Nipponese rival. And not to mention, the exceptional master of logic and reasoning who showed me the true art of deduction, Mr. Sholmes. Saving the best for last, Mr. Naruhodo? What a relief. Nope. I'm well aware that without all these people's help and support, I wouldn't be there where I am today. The truth is a guiding light that always leads to happiness. I'm not sure about that. I've lived by that principle for a long time now. Now, don't get me wrong, happiness is not the ultimate goal. So if it doesn't lead to happiness, doesn't mean that you shouldn't pursue it. I've lived by the that principle for a long time now, but actually it's not true. Oh. The truth can also cause great pain, sometimes even leave people on the brink of despair. And for that reason, there are those who feel the need to hide the truth, who do it instinctively even. But as soon as we allow our eyes to settle on something other than the truth, it builds on itself in this big lie cancer. Darkness takes hold, and from there it grows until eventually it makes us blind to the guiding light of the truth altogether. So that's why it's my belief that we must all resolve never to avert our eyes from what is just and true. So we can continue to walk the straight and narrow path ahead. Well, I must excuse myself now. But before I go, Mr. Naruhodo, let me compliment you on your grand opus. What? Without your beautiful, composed case against Lord Strongheart, Her Majesty would have been unable to act. Thanks to you and your fellows, the haunting undertones corrupting Britain's justice system have been silenced. Thank you very much. So until our paths cross again somewhere. Well then, it would appear that this long trial has finally come to an end. My apologies for any anxiety caused, my lord. I'm quite sure we shall meet again here in the courtroom before long, Prosecutor Brock Van Zieks. In conclusion of these proceedings, I hereby declare the defendant Brock Van Zieks That is all. Court is adjourned. It really is all over. But did I sacrifice too much? Mr. Naruhodo, I really must congratulate you. It was a truly splendid performance. Honestly, I couldn't be happier for you. Oh, thank you very much. But I really couldn't have done it without you at my side through it all, Mrs. Sato. Oh. Your kind words mean so much to me. It really was a very splendid show, that, Naruhodo. I have thought you'd be smiling from ear to ear, but you look rather glum. Well, of course I'm delighted about the verdict, but in exposing the truth, I'm afraid I've caused my client a great deal of pain. I'm really not sure that's what a lawyer ought to be doing. Oh well, in that case, I'm quite sure that when you see Lord Van Zeek's smiling face, everything will seem much better. Miss Susato, everything seems worse. He has a face like thunder. Oh dear, I really shouldn't have presumed. Mr. Naruhodo, yes? Almost a year it's been now since I first encountered you here in this very courthouse. For you to have risen to the level of excellence you demonstrated today, well, it's quite remarkable. But I exposed the most unpalpable truth you could ever have imagined in court today. I feel as though I've robbed you of something you held so dear. What was it, he said? To fight those who dwell in the darkness requires at least some of us to occupy the darkness ourselves. But that was just the feeble excuse of a coward. Only those with a steadfast eye for the truth have what it takes to fight the dark forces of crime. You made fine work of establishing that fact in court today. Oh. Well, thank you. What magnanimous words. I'm quite sure that Kazuma-sama would have a smile on his face at this very moment if he were here. Kazuma. Miss Susato, there's another face like thunder here. Oh my, and he really was here. Lord Van Zeeks. Allow me to congratulate you on your acquittal. Congratulate me? Or curse me? You failed to bring down the Reaper. Yeah, but you aren't the Reaper. I owe you an apology. No, it is as I should apologize. Your father, Genshin. If I had been stronger, then perhaps I made an unforgivable error of judgment. I can offer no excuse. And I can offer no forgiveness. That said, I suppose you fought for justice and the truth. For that at least I can't withhold respect. Your words mean more to me than you could know. I will hold them dear. Izuma-sama. I must say, there's one thing that's still bothering me. What's that? The will that Lord Clint Van Zeeks wrote before his duel with my father. Sogi is a fine detective and a hunter worthy of respect. He has agreed to honor my final two wishes. The first is that this document survives. The second, it cannot commit to paper. I have confessed my sins to my wife. Okay. He's wondering what the one he couldn't commit to paper was. What can the second of his final wishes have been? That your father agreed to honor, you mean? I think perhaps I might be able to shed some light on that. What? Father? It was 10 years ago, as you know. the day before the execution was scheduled. I went to the prison to say my farewell to Genshin. Why aren't you putting up more of a fight, Genshin? If you'd only agreed to it, Seishiro and I would gladly petition the government. We've been through this already. You don't need to worry about me. Anyway, Yujin, I have a favor to ask of you. Something of great importance. You're one of my greatest friends, Genshin. Whatever it is, consider it done. I'm going to tell you an address. I need you to go there at once, in secret and telling no one. You should find a lady of the gentry is in hiding there. A lady of the gentry? She's not in a good way, and she's with child. The birth is imminent. As a medical man, I'd like you to attend to her. Please, you're her only hope. By any chance, is the child yours, Genshin? Don't be daft. It's a favor that was asked of me by a man I knew, as his dying wish. My goodness, I swore to the man that I would help, that I would do whatever I could for his wife and his unborn child. So now we know who Iris's father is. Clint Van Zieks. Okay, but if something should happen to me, I need to ask you that same favor. You're the only person I know that I can truly rely on. What did you say if something should happen to you? Tomorrow night you're going to be... Hehehehe. You never know though, do you? What life will bring. Alright then, tell me the address. I heard they're at... No. Not with him. Heard there once with Seishiro, okay. Pardon? This is a favor I'm asking of you, and only you, Yujin. Right, I see. Very well then. That very night, I caught a train from Paddington to Dartmoor in Devon. I found the old house. In the middle of nowhere it was. An old hunting hound lay asleep in the grounds. It's called the Abercrombie House. Poor woman was on the floor in the back of a darkened room. She was in mortal danger. I broke her waters to precipitate the labor before she weakened further, but it was a torturous birth. I did everything humanly possible for her and her child. And in the end, I was lucky enough to welcome a new life into the world. But tragically, my efforts to save the mother's life were in vain. I held the healthy newborn girl in my arms and wept for longer than I cared to remember. Eventually, in something of a daze, I looked around the room. And there was precious little in it, but an old travel trunk caught my eye. It had clearly been well looked after over the years, made of top-quality leather with fine stitching. But it was then I saw the emblem on the side of it that everything dropped into place. B for Baskerville. Baskerville? You mean the woman was the wife of Lord Clint Van Zieks? That's right. The newborn was his daughter. But that makes no sense. Why on earth wouldn't Clint have entrusted the child to my care in that case? I was completely unaware that he even had a daughter. I suppose he didn't really have any choice. What? Well, your brother said that he confessed everything to his wife, so she must have been beside herself with worry for her child. If the true identity of the professor were ever to be made public, The girl would be forever branded as the daughter of the infamous mass murderer. Ah. So the only solution was to distance the young girl from the Van Zieks family as much as possible. I don't believe it. I imagine that in his final hour, Lord Clint Van Zieks made the obvious choice. He would have thought to himself, this Japanese man here is someone I can trust. I honored my promise to Genshin, of course. However, only a month later, I was summoned back to Japan. And without disclosing the parentage of the child, I couldn't obtain permission to take her with me. Oh, how awful. I was completely at a loss. In the end, I had to ask my great friend. I asked him if he could be a father to her. That being Mr. Sholmes, I presume. Yes. He took one look into my eyes and agreed to it on the spot. Mr. Sholmes, he has a heart of gold. Really, all it can be said that I did for the child was to give her a name. Oh. When I come to Britain, I was trying to escape from the grief of losing my darling wife. Wow. Like, the death in childbirth rate for Miko Toba, like, witnessing it is, like, really high. It's like, far as Miko Toba is concerned, birth is fatal. So it was her name that I gave the little girl. Your wife's name, Professor Miko Toba. In other words, Iris, the name of my mother, Amy Miko Toba. Oh, means Iris in Japanese. That's right, Amy. Or in English, Iris. Ayami, whatever, how do you pronounce that? Iris. I had no idea. Ouch, Mr. Naruhodo, what's wrong? This little thing just pinched me in the behind through my trouser pocket, hard. My dear fellows, can you hear me? Mr. Sholmes, is that you? Ouch, yes, we can hear you. You see what excessive tugging can do. Let that be a lesson to you. Mr. Sholmes, we weren't able to thank you properly before, but you were simply marvelous. Your checkmate move was a stroke of genius. Indeed it was, wasn't it? I surpassed myself, I feel. It had become apparent to me that to stop the Lord Chief Justice would require such measures. Runo, Susie, oh, Iris. She was... Oh, I'm so pleased, what a wonderful outcome. Her Majesty the Queen, Vicky, said that she thought my special blend was delicious. Oh, I'm sure she said she did. Anyway, after all, no one brews a more delicious tea than you do, Iris. Let's have a party to celebrate. And Mr. Reaper, you simply must come too. I'm afraid I couldn't. The Reaper of the Bailey, flustered by a 10-year-old girl. Again. Nope, really. Oh, poo. But I give you my word that I shall present myself at your residence in the near future to express my gratitude. Oh, how lovely. You promised now. I won't let you forget. Bye for now, then. Alright, Iris. Thank you for all your help earlier. Oh, that was nothing. Just come back home soon. Ouch! One final pinch goodbye, was it? Well, I think I ought to be leaving. Lord Van Zieks, would you care to accompany me? Certainly. Mr. Naruhodo, allow me once again to express my deep gratitude to you. I believe you saved my life. Yes, that is technically true. Wait, Lord Van Zieks. Yes? What are you intending to do now? Prosecute stuff. Well, clearly, I shall have to resign from the prosecutor's office. Never mind, I'm going to pull an Edgeworth. And resign, but not really. Oh no. I intend to publicize the full truth about the Professor case. Once that's done, the Van Zieks family will be ostracized completely from London society. Surely not. So as soon as I am free from my employment, I shall leave the capital. Oh, I see. Don't be a fool. Are those the actions of a man once feared as the mighty Reaper of the Bailey? I beg your pardon. For the past 10 years, you've endured that pseudonym and have been cast as one of the dark forces yourself. Now that you've finally been freed from that disrepute, your battle is just beginning, surely? Well, I certainly never expected to hear those words from your lips. I waited a very long time to come to London, and now I'm properly here, I intend to learn all that I can. Anyway, goodbye for now, Rinosuke Naruhodo. Kasuma Asogi. It seems as though he's really matured suddenly. He's not the only one who's matured, Mr. Naruhodo. Well, I think we should make our way back to Baker Street. We must help Iris with tonight's dinner. We must. Has Mr. Sholmes paid his rent? We know they're going to ask Mr. Naruhodo to pay for something at some point. It was then that I came to an important decision about my future. Honestly, I don't really care about your decision. I'm home. About time you got here. We've been waiting ages ago, Odo. What are you doing with that colorful piece of history? It's a party, innit? It's gonna go off with a bang. I mean, fireworks, ideally. But then you ain't got fire. Smoke's the best thing, ain't it? There's a girl on Fresno Street who could help you with that, I think. Right. I'll remember that. You don't have to reload that thing every time I speak. You really must hear this. It's quite an extraordinary thing. I assure you, it will defy your expectations. Take down every detail now, Mikotoba. The world-famous great detective, regaling his partner with the tale of his adventure. A sight to behold. Would you care to hazard a guess? Where do you suppose the fiendish runaway had concealed himself? Would you believe? Inside the trunk I found abandoned in his cabin. I would believe it, yes. I say, Mikotoba, I detect not a hint of surprise. I wonder why that is. Maybe because I was there at the scene as well, Sholmes. What, you were? Then why the deuce didn't you say so before? Not quite the sight I was expecting to behold, but still. It's hard not to feel privileged to see it. Hello, Mr. Sholmes. Professor Mikotoba, I'm finally back from the Bailey. And not a moment too soon. A feast prepared by Iris and Susato awaits. I must say, I haven't seen Susato looking so happy in a very long time. Ah, Runo, there you are. Dinner's on the table, everyone. Please do come and take a seat. Time to fill me boots. Goodness, is that really true, Gina? Yep, I'm losing me Copper's clobber and going back to what I know best. It's a diver's life for me. I'm really leaving the police force, but why, Guinea? Well, the boss ain't around no more, so... Oh. And anyway, no matter how hard I try, the Reaper ain't never gonna accept a diver turned dick, is it? Well, people can change, you know. Ah yes, that reminds me. I rather thoughtfully offered to relieve the bailiff of this now defunct piece of evidence. It's the inspector's pocket watch, and the crown has been reattached. That watch was his pride and joy, a symbol of his great achievements at Scotland Yard. For 10 years without fail, it measured every second of the man's remarkable career. That involved, like, murdering people. But now it's stopped. Someone needs to keep the memory of Inspector Gregson's career alive by taking on the great responsibility of winding that watch every single day again. Yes, someone with an equally fierce detective spirit. It's gotta be me. There ain't no one else. Quite right. I mean, after all, the boss was... well, it was my boss. Yes, Guinea, yes he was. Yeah, and I made you a promise and all, didn't I, Iris? That I'd become a proper detective one day and track down your old man. Oh. Alright then, it's decided, I'll do it. And I swear, I'll find your dad and bring him kicking and screaming. Well, good luck finding him in hell. I'm not entirely sure that would be appropriate. Yes, I think, Gina, it might be best to, well... I think I'd like you to forget that promise, Guinea. Iris? Well, obviously I've always wondered about who my real daddy is. Of course I have. I wanted to know where I've come from. I thought I might tell me something about myself. But I've caused such a lot of trouble trying to find out for so many people. Hurley, Runo, Professor Mickey. Just like, everybody knows but Iris. And Gina. Oh no, not at all, my dear. Really, you owe no apology to anyone. Well, anyway, I'm decided to give up on it. Because I finally realized my daddy is the greatest in the world. I don't think it matters what his name is or where he's from. Don't you agree, Hurley? With every word, Iris. Thank you, Hurley. Thank you, Daddy. That's not the ending I wanted to see. They made this whole big rant about always pursue the truth even if it hurts people. And they're going to not give her the truth because they think it will hurt her. I think Mikotoba... Yes, Sholmes? I think that I ought to express my gratitude to you. Oh. For 6 years, you and I solved many a mystery together. And during that time, I remembered countless expressions of gratitude for our good services. But a moment ago, I heard the most pleasing expression of gratitude of them all. And I should never have experienced it. Were it not for you. You old softy, Sholmes. But I must confess, it's a weight off my mind to hear you say it. Well then, I think this calls for a lengthy violin recital, wouldn't you say? Oh well, the food would go cold. That's the only problem. Maybe next week, Hurley. Are you sure a week is long enough, Iris? Even amidst the most troubling of cases, even reeling from the most shocking of revelations, returning not so shocking, returning in the evening to this suite of rooms, there's always warmth and happiness to be had. The home of the world's greatest detective, and my home too, is my greatest family. This attic room has been my home and office for almost a year now. I've certainly had some unforgettable experiences whilst I've lived here. But I think now, the time has come Time to bid this place farewell. Naruhodo. Oh, Professor. Are you alone? I didn't hear any sound from Susato's room. Yes, Susato-san went out after dinner. She took a carriage. Something about an important matter she needed to take care of. Ah, I see. I wanted to thank you for what you did earlier. Oh. With Iris, I mean. When the subject of her father came up. Lord Clint Van Zieks. I made up my mind many years ago never to tell her who her real father was. It's what was agreed with Genshin after all. Lord Clint Van Zieks' final wishes before he died, you mean? Yes, I've had to take some rather drastic steps at times to protect that secret, you know. Calling Susato back to Japan 6 months ago, for example. That's why? When I read Soseki-san's report about his final days in London, my heart nearly stopped. You'd stumbled across the crux of that terrible case, the dog's collar. The description of the Baskerville insignia left me no doubt. Baskerville. If you decide to investigate that insignia, sooner or later you'd have made the connection to the Van Zieks. And to make matters worse, Susato knew of the unpublished story as well. The story that Iris had written based on my notes from the time. Ah yes, the Hound of the Baskervilles. Exactly. It was a work of fiction, but based on the grim reality of a huge beast of a dog being used as a murder weapon. A dog with the Baskervilles family emblem around its neck. Armed with those two clues, I feared you and Susato might arrive at the truth. So I invented that story about having collapsed to justify her leaving London to return to Japan at once. All in aid of halting any investigations you and she might have been contemplating. I see. Something I've never understood is why Susato-san came across that manuscript in Japan, though. You know, Iris is the Hound of the Baskervilles story, I mean. Sholmes sent it to me. That was before Susato left Japan. He was very troubled about what should be done about it, you see. I'd read it and carelessly left it on my desk, which is where Susato came across it, of course. Ah. It was the only case Sholmes and I ever pursued that I didn't record in meticulous detail. I was stunned when I discovered that young Iris had pieced together so much of it from paltry notes. Sholmes and I discussed the matter and decided that we couldn't allow the story's publication. At that point, I returned to the manuscript by post to Sholmes for safekeeping. So you did all that to stop Iris from finding out the truth about her father. That's right, because Sholmes had told me how astute she'd become. However, having witnessed events in court today, I must say my opinion has somewhat shifted. Oh. I think at some point in the future, the time will come for Iris to know the truth. And when it does, well, I believe it will be for the best. I think so too. Actually, Professor, I wanted to talk to you about something too. Judging from that expression, I say you've come to a decision, have you? Yes, I have. I will be returning with you to Japan. Are you quite sure? I'm really only here as a substitute for Kazuma, but he's here in Britain now, as originally intended. Locum student Naruhodo doesn't really have a right to stay, I think. I see. Looking back now, when I first arrived here in February, becoming a lawyer just seemed to be the way things turned out. With Kazuma, Susato-san, and Mr. Sholmes all gently pushing me in that direction. I spent the best part of a year immersed in this world, but always aware of a seed of doubt inside me. Until today. Standing in that courtroom earlier, all doubts vanished from my mind. I was totally focused. I was sure of my belief in my client, and I was sure I could see the trial through. And at the end of it, I finally realized no one else chose this path for me. I chose it myself. The path of a defense lawyer, eh? Yes, that's what I am now. That's what I will be going back with you to Japan as. And that's the path I'll be following for the rest of my life. Well, it sounds like you've made quite a resolution there. I have. Very well then. I must say, it's extremely welcome news. I shall make arrangements for your return first thing tomorrow, but I don't imagine we'll be depart for a few days. Not with the symposium having been cancelled now. Such a shame. Never mind, I'm sure there'll be other opportunities in the future. Well then, I bid you a good night. Hehehehe. Susato-san. I totally had to go run an errand, really. I just wanted to let you know I'm back. Did you, hear what your father and I were discussing? I'm sorry, I did, yes. I couldn't help it, but... Oh, how much did you hear? Well, all of it. From the part about Iris's real father, I think. In other words, from the beginning. So, you've made up your mind. You'll return to Japan and continue working as a defense lawyer. Yes. I am sorry. I really should have consulted you about it. I did want to earlier this evening, actually, but you've already gone out. Oh no, that's quite alright. I already knew that is what you decide, Naruhodo-san. You did? Susato-san. Huh? Yes? I suppose this means it has to be farewell soon. I suppose. He'll be great help to Kazuma going forward. I mean, I know he's a brilliant lawyer, but he's new to the British courtroom. He'll certainly benefit greatly having a brilliant judicial assistant at his side. I'll do my very best. I wish I could say it, but I just can't. I can't ask her to come with me. After all, she was always supposed to be coming to Britain as Kazuma's assistant. It's growing late. We should both try to get some sleep. I'm sure you must be exhausted after today. Yes, you're right. Before I retire, let me just say one more time. You really were quite splendid in court today, if you ask me. Anyone who thinks of you as a substitute or a locum should be ashamed of themselves. Susato-san. Thank you. Can't believe this day's finally come. You're really leaving then, Runo? I'm afraid so, Iris. Thank you so much for everything. I don't know what I'll do without your wonderful cooking and delicious tea. Oh, I wish you weren't going. But you have to come back and visit. Say you will. Of course. I promise. Is that like a DLC or something? It's like third game, but there's DLCs. Well, it was a very brief reunion, but it was a pleasure to pursue a case with you again after so long. For a while, at least, it felt like old times. Yes, I suppose, on reflection, There's something to be said for it, having a little fun once in a while. I'll just go and say goodbye to the professor as well, I think. Alright, Iris, you do that.
スサトさん
I've just checked, Naruhodo-san. Your luggage is already on board. Such a beautiful morning. Perfect for embarking on a journey, isn't it?
Before I set off, I'd just like to say how thankful I am for everything you've done for me. And give my warmest regards to Kazuma, please.
Actually, I think you ought to give him your regards in person, don't you?
Sorry?
Ryunosuke,
Kazuma! What are you doing here?
do you really think I'd miss my best friend's departure?
Thanks. To be honest, I'd been looking forward to our wild time tearing up the streets of Her Majesty's capital. But,
Well, we'll have to save that for another time. Personally, I'm looking forward to facing you in court again.
me too. But, we're both defense lawyers, so,
I'm going to become a prosecutor.
The mind change happens.
I'll stay in Lord Van Zeek's tutelage for the time being, but before long, I intend to be just as formidable as the Reaper himself.
Oh, I see.
Actually, Ryunosuke, I have a favor to ask.
Name it.
I'd like you to take care of this for me for a while.
Karuma? Why?
Because I've seen it now. I've seen what's inside me, the demon that reared its ugly head that day. It was only for the briefest of moments. The last time I came face to face with that inspector, but it was unmistakable. I wanted to kill him. I've always known there are demons that live inside people. And now I know there is one in me. The fact that it very nearly consumed me is something I'll carry with me until the end of my days, while I devote my life to fighting those whose demons have got the better of them. As a prosecutor,
So, that's what you've resolved to do, is it?
until I'm ready to face the demon within me, to slay it once and for all. I leave this in your care, if you'll take it.
Of course I will. I'll keep it by my side. Always. Until we meet again, then. You have your path to follow, and I have mine.
Naruhodo-san? The path you're going to follow from now on, I wonder if I might follow it at your side, unless I'd be a burden.
What? I mean, I would very much like you to come with me. But aren't you...
You're so predictable, Ryunosuke.
I am?
Honestly, you never change at all. But that's what I like about you.
You mean you knew about this?
It was the evening after Lord Van Zeek's trial came to an end. She came to see me at the prosecutor's office.
Really? Or when I had that conversation with Professor Mikotoba.
So, you'd go with Ryunosuke back to Japan?
Yes. I know it's unfair of me to follow my own interests like this.
Coming here especially to tell me. You're a stickler for etiquette, aren't you? Well, what are his feelings?
We've never discussed it, of course, and Naruhodo-san has made no such suggestion. I worry that perhaps I'd be a burden to him.
He's just as much of a stickler for etiquette as you are. He'd never say anything before he was asked. But I'd feel happy knowing you were with him. Look out for him on my behalf, will you?
Of course.
Susato-san.
What do you think, Naruhodo-san?
With you by my side, no trial would seem too daunting. So if you're willing, I'd be honored if you'd come with me. Together we can take on the world.
I'm terribly incompetent, but if you'll have me, I'd be delighted.
Oh, no, not at all. If anyone's terribly incompetent, it's me.
Ah! What's wrong?
Your luggage, Susato-san. There's no time. The ship's going to set sail any minute now.
It's all right. There's no need to worry. As it happens, my luggage is already on board too.
It is?
Your fine judicial assistant has everything in hand as always, I see.
Bruno! Your ship's about to leave!
Time to go then. Look after yourself, Ryunosuke.
Kazuma, draw your sword. One day, when our paths cross, once more, we'll fight a duel of words across the courtroom. A day I eagerly await as a lawyer.
I've been waiting to hear you say that, partner.
Don't forget me then, Kazuma.
As if I could, Ryunosuke.
And Mr. Sholmes, thank you so much. I'm very much indebted to you.
Indeed, Mr. Naruhodo. I believe you are.
I'll never forget all you've done for me during my time in London.
Quite. I should like to think you will remember your debt of gratitude. Especially when I visit you in your country. What? The truth is, although many are ignorant of the fact, the world is far smaller than most folk realize.
Well, I'd be delighted if you came to Japan one day.
Oh yes, we'd welcome you with open arms, Mr. Sholmes.
Oh, that sounds wonderful! I can't wait!
In that case, let us conclude that this is to be merely a brief parting, my dear fellows.
And that brings us to the end of my adventures in Great Britain. A peculiar twist of fate brought me halfway around the world those many months ago. But that was just the start of my journey. Who knows where fate will lead me next? Still, I'm confident this won't be my last meeting with the friends I've made in London. And when we're together again, no doubt the first words I'll hear will be,
Come, the game is afoot!
The ship, with our friends from the east, sailed steadily towards the distant horizon. But Sholmes's face was alight with joy.
The times may change, but a steadfast friendship will remain true, Wilson. We have but to gently close our eyes, and we are with our companions once more.
So I do just that. And when I do, I can hear his strong, familiar voice ring out.
Objection!
Until we meet again, Bruno.
Yeah, I don't think I really will say much at this juncture. I'm just going to stop recording.